All right, so I'm bringing it back a little wide angle because I think I'm going to do a little bit of defoliation and of course I grabbed the mister that doesn't want to mist. That's fine. I just wanted to get some water on these roots. I didn't think they would dry out that quickly. I put them in here when we got home, unpacked some groceries and such, and here we are. They're drying out. So these are definitely from cuttings, or someone was extremely considerate and pruned out the feeder root initially and gave it a nice first root treatment. I don't know if these naturally do this. This is my first experience with money tree. I have one cutting that survived. They don't take long term for me, my cuttings. But I haven't tried them in this awesome new soil of mine. So just take out some of the higher growth that I know I won't want on any of them, but I don't want to take off all the growth. There's so much to learn, but one thing I've gathered with trees like this, you want to leave on some foliage when you're doing a repotting or root pruning, anything like that, so that it can gather some energy to send it down into the roots. And then when the new stuff starts growing in, you know, this finer leaves, these smaller ones, when they start expanding like these, there's enough energy, you know, you could prune off the rest. But in the meantime, you want to leave some of these larger ones. I would really like to go gangsta, but after losing that one with the hard pruning with Fran, I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is, there's a bud here on this one. You may not be able to see it, but you will after. And there's a decent branch going straight up off of it that I think will be a great cutting. So we're looking for 3 of those. So that's pretty cool. So we've got a few branches. I'd like to get a lot more branches. I think that's why you see these money trees in clumps, because every time you prune it, you're lucky if you get another shoot out. You don't get like 2, 3, 4. Some trees, it's insane, and you're like always battling all of the branches that'll come from one point. But with these, that's not the case. So I think that as a clump style, you know, it naturally makes it look like there's a nice full canopy, and then they grow up nice and green, and you could keep it whatever shape you want. But when you start really looking at it as a bonsai, it's like, okay, like these things are 3 years old, and I've got 2 branch divides, you know, on pretty much each of them. And I've been following traditional standards. So it's either they were really, really young as cuttings and they take a while and then take off with the better soil, which we'll see, or they just aren't good at branching, and that's why you see them as clump styles, and soon to be a couple clump forest, whatever you want to call it, beach scene. That's the way I'm thinking of it. So not a bad cutting. All right. Let's take the tall one off of here. This one I'm going to want to go short with. I'm just thinking. I gave a whole thing about leaving some leaves on, but it's such a small cutting. I think with the big leaves, it's pointless. At least there's one already developing, so we'll see. So same kind of thing with this one. So I'm really gonna shorten it up. Oh man, just see the one branch. I'll go mid-green. I think there's a better chance of bud back and survival when there's still some of the softwood. When it's starting to get hard like this, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm hoping for the best. All right. And same kind of thing here. But as you see with all of these, there's different cut points. And then even here, you see the different cut points. But what does it come back as? One straight out of that. So we got 3. Okay, so what I was thinking with these guys was some sort, well, not these guys, you're the separate one. I was thinking with these guys was some sort of in the back configuration where they've been coming up all random, maybe, you know, a coconut fell from the original or something like that, and the other 2 are growing up close enough to it, but they have large canopies and they're all kind of reaching for that sun, so they're close but not a clump. It's almost like they're growing despite each other. I think I like that idea, but maybe higher in the pot. So something like I want to do the one strip in the middle. I won't make it so exacting, but what I'll do is I'll do a rubber band or a couple rubber bands, and I think that'll be able to wrangle that. And I don't want it going directly at you. Ooh, yeah. Maybe like leading with that, and then coming more to the side and a little bit more back. So this is my attraction, and I can maybe find a little couple to sit up on here chilling. And then this thing goes away, so it's not the big bulbous root in your face and coming right at you like if I was to do something like that. You know, I don't like that. So with these up and that there, what I would like to have, okay, picture that. I don't have any fancy graphic things where I could pause it and add to it. And cheers to you broskies that can and do those things. I really enjoy your videos, the high-tech stuff. Maybe one day, but not today. So maybe a similar configuration, or maybe just a backsplash configuration, kind of like so, have them close but separate, and do these 3s back here. So you have the low green foliage coming behind that big woody trunk. So even though this is the lead thing, you'll probably see when you look in, you'll be able to look up, look to the right to the other big ones, and then in the distance you'll have these little baby ones that are maybe coming from the heavily palmed and wooded area that didn't get as much direct sun. So they're like babies creeping for their part of the sun. So that's my plan, and as I discussed before, I don't want to run out of video space. I want to get this done in 2 parts for y'all. So what I'm going to do now is put on a time lapse and wrestle with it a bit. I'll try to put on some good music so you enjoy it, and then we'll talk about it briefly after.
Bless you, Stanley. All right, so here we have it. I'll get you a little closer. So, and for the meantime, this guy's probably going to find another spot. He just looks so demonic in this planting. So we'll just take him out of here, even though it's a really cool frog, in my opinion. Red eyes. There's a coin that goes in his mouth. But I do like this polished stone in the background. It doesn't draw too much attention away from the trees, but I think that it kind of complements them. And maybe we'll get lucky in these, at least one of these three cuttings we'll take. And if not, we'll have plenty of cuttings in the future, and they just become a part of the planting for the season. They don't take. At least they provided some green while your other, trees kick in a little bit. So left a few leaves, not much, but I think last time it wasn't my daughter's error on the pruning. I believe you could really prune these hard. I think that once it was pruned hard, it didn't need as much water as the others, and that was my mistake. So I should have misted instead of watered. Misted, kind of every day, the other ones, instead of watered heavy once a week. So I'm going to take it on the chin on that one. But I really like the new design here. I have these. This one's kind of coming a little bit back towards the viewer on the entry. This is more of a vertical one, and this one's coming in and kind of the interior tree that's going to fill in this space. But obviously this is the star of my show, and I would love to build a nice little canopy with tons of little branches right here. That would really be cool to me. And this rubber band's doing its job. And with the way I have them set up here, with the three leaning into each other, with the bases separated. See that? I can appropriately correct the inverse taper that occurred by tying them together in a clump style. So, and some nice woody trunks. Got some different shades of brown. And in the future, I hope I get some back budding now, but in the future, I do plan on coming to about here and then maintaining a finer canopy above. If it takes 20 years, it takes 20 years. I'm in no rush. Yeah, the frog just didn't look good in there anymore. And after a few waterings, I know that the soil will look a little bit better, like I showed it when it was dry, but too much sand really mixed in there. But it doesn't harm a little beach planting. So, anyways, I'm going to call this a money tree beach skate. And on that note, my wife is probably rolling her eyes. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Jarhead Bonsai, y'all. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. And from my family to yours, cheers.